Yeah, 1 second. Good evening, guys. Thank you so much for taking your valuable weekend and joining us live. Today we have Mrs. Sneha Shravani. We are happy to share that she is one of our rice trainings, one of the pioneering batch for Argus administration batch. And the best part of her is, though she is from a techie background, she learned a lot of things in life sciences, especially in Argus administration, and she is having a decades of experience. Though she's having experience, Shruti, she works for multiple MNCs. She's always for me, she always looks like a fresher. In terms of her zeal and enthusiasm towards learning new skills and asking to learn new skills, whenever there is a help in need of referring our students and forwarding resumes to within companies, she is always there for us. And in the same time, in the vice versa, whenever she wants to upskill, she immediately reaches to us. And that is the kind of trust and rapport we have built with our alumni students and our existing passed out students. We are happy to share that, yeah, she's working with one more MNC now. And yes, this session is exclusively for the people who are looking for crossing the paths and breaking the barriers, whoever has been stuck in case processing and they want to move into these kind of job roles. Yes, we have done it. Out of our 22 students who have taken Argus administration from us, 5 people have been successfully moved into Argus administrator role. To be honest, Sneha Shravani is one among them who have taken courses and who have upskilled herself and who is in a good position now. Yeah, thank you so much, Sneha Shravani, for accepting our invite and
Thank you, Kiran.
waiting patiently for more than 2 weeks. We have rescheduled it. Still, you have made it. Now
Yeah.
the stage is all yours. You can go ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kiran, for the introduction. And yes, I have been an alumni of RISE training, and the best part of RISE training is the network that we have built. In fact, my current job is also from this RISE training network who referred me, and I that's how I got my current role. So it has a network of all influential people who are high up there and still learning. And Kiran sir is able to understand the needs of each student, what they want, and help them grow. So I've taken even the SQL course or admin course from related to Argus database from RISE trainings, and that's how I have learned a lot. So even though I was in the technical side, but the basics and the teachers who come here, they have helped me grow, and it's my privilege to be able to talk as a in the presentation stage now, but always a student at heart. So about this today's presentation, as already Kiran sir has mentioned, that how you can move from case processing to configuration, the technical side. So with case processing, we already know that you know the business parts because you talk with the business team with the
1 second, Shravani. So, sorry, just come back with your slides and share your company's journey also. Please, please. Come back and show the companies where you have worked. Sorry to interrupt.
no problem. Yeah, so I have started my journey from TCS. So I was in initial learning program. So since beginning, so I worked there for 6.5 years, and then I worked in Vitrana, and I moved to from Vitrana to Prudentia Consulting, which has recently been acquired by Ergomed. Then I also worked a short stint for a year in Accenture with GSK as my client. And then again, I moved to Prudentia, where I learned even the vault safety for another AbbVie client. And now I'm working for Thermo Fisher Scientific as in the configuration side, which we call the STO team. So I think I have Pradeep from the participants, right? He also is in Thermo Fisher. Hi, Pradeep. So I'm just acknowledging him.
Hi, Sneha.
Yeah. So right now we do the configuration and all those stuff in Argus. So my primary skill is Argus and Argus safety, and I'm in the learning curve of wall safety because it is relatively new and still learning that part. And I also have experience with the validation, CSV, and all how you compile your data into GXP domains. So I have worked extensively in that part as well. So, but still, there's a lot of learning. You cannot. I'm sure, other than the Oracle people, nobody else totally gets Argus from. There are so many things within Argus. So I'll continue, Kiran, with the next slide.
Please, here, because not only me, even audience want to know your journey and companies. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as I was saying that the agenda of this training is how we can, move from case processing and people want to learn and go into the configuration side. So it doesn't matter if you're from pharma or background or other background, because configuration and understanding configuration, Argus, if we talk in specification specific to Argus, it's built in such a way that it's very user friendly. So you can, when you understand the business in the PV domain side, it's very easy to bring those requirements into the technical aspects. Like we get the regulatory guidance, like the R3 guidance, FDA R3 guidance. The main why we get those guidance and regulations, it is easier for people like you to understand the significance of it, how it is actually impacting patient safety, right? And that we are translating into our technical safety database. uh, Please stop me because I have a habit of going little fast. So just stop me if there is some points that you want to reconfirm or anything. So we have collated some points that we will be discussing in the agenda, which you can see in the PPT right now. Introduction, understanding the role difference. What are the Argus admin, which we'll discuss in details. When we say Argus admin, what do we do? We'll understand it in detail. The technical understanding, how RISE training and other certifications like from Oracle would help you get job opportunities and put it on your resume that you are trained and certified to do this. RISE training, what I have got, we have got a hands-on experience with Argus UI and the console and the database side also. Like we have got a hands-on experience, so it was very helpful for us to actually, because most of the time because of regulations, we do all people do not have access as an admin to actually do configurations or troubleshoot, right? So in RISE training, we have this benefit that you can actually get hands-on access to the Argus system and work on it, and that helps you build a lot of core concepts. It builds the core concepts. So the other points are how you would put that in your resume. That's also an art in that in today's job market. What are the right roles, and how do you identify that this is a case processing role or I would be in the configuration part? Qualifications and job descriptions, I feel that all of us here are well qualified to take in the plunge of an Argus administrator. And roles and skills required, packages, and the last would be the question. So let's move forward with the next thing, understanding the role difference and what are the Argus admin functionalities. So, case processing is like you understand how from where your data is coming, whether it is an E2B data, structured data, or it is a non-structured data, and the nuance of understanding that what are the important aspects, like the patient data is coming in or not, the event data, the company drug data, etc. How is it coming from your source, and how you're able to enter it, like you call in your workflow state, the triage or the data entry state, and you see that I'm able to perform these functionalities, able to enter the data, able to move that data into the next workflow state so that it does not get refused by the medical reviewer or the quality control reviewer. Here, how you will transform this knowledge when you go into the admin side, right? So you have the basic understanding of what are the important data you need, the 5 elements for a proper adverse event to be uh, uh, put up. And when I say adverse event, you also have an understanding of an adverse reaction or an adverse event. What are the listedness values? And you understand, you have the core understanding of how the listedness populates and why it populates in such a way. But on top of this, when you say that you're an Argus admin or you're an admin, you have to translate that to work in your way. Like when you say that I have to get this report for a serious event, I want it to be scheduled, the report should be scheduled to FDA or the EMA within 15 days. That is your requirement. You get that requirement, you totally understand the nuance of that requirement and why it is very critical. And you need to use your Argus safety database to be able to do it and configure it yourself. So that building is what we are going to learn in very briefly today, and how RISE trainings will help you learn better on that part. So this is just an example. So first we'll try to know that what is Argus safety. So I think that when you are in the case processing side, you already know what is Argus safety. But Argus safety is just one application from Oracle Health Sciences unit that helps you in capturing the adverse events. Argus safety has two databases and two schemas. One schema that has your case data. There's a DLP schema. You must have heard that in your work, daily work, that stores your other older case revisions for a case. And then how this both these databases are connected to your Argus Smart and or Argus Insight. Many of you must have also worked on the Argus Insight part to generate your reports, aggregate reports, PBRER, and all this stuff. And how we, when you say that you have worked in the periodic reports generation, paid report generation, so you are already understand that what is necessary in PBRER, right? What is required in a periodic report, what is required in an aggregate report, and what is required in an expedited report. So you have an understanding of this. Now this understanding we are going to translate into our knowledge in the database. So even in the narrative writing is a skill, but most of the companies, including Thermo Fisher, have seen many tenants use manual narrative writing that results in multiple errors. So when you understand what are the important points in a case narrative, you should be able to understand that why this resulted in an error. So one of the example can be that the data length. Argus accepts only certain data length and only certain characters inside your case narrative. So this is one way of troubleshooting an issue, and this is how you grow upon your Argus knowledge. So this is one simple aspect of Argus safety, but Argus safety, Argus has Argus Insight and Argus Empirica signal map for signal management for post-marketed cases. And then Oracle is trying to build with the One Health Sciences club all together, like Viva Vault Safety, where you are able to not only process your adverse events, you are able to generate the reports, you are able to generate dashboards, so that you can see that which are your priority events, which are your lower priority events, which are expedited, which are failing, and so that it gives you a complete roadmap of the benefits and risk of a drug and product. Even in the clinical trial, you are able to analyze that data into a better way. So this is how what Oracle is now trying to build using Argus safety and things in this. If you have any questions, please stop me here, and we'll come to the next two pointers. What is E2BR3, FDA, EMA, and how it's knowledge. Okay, I'm going to the next point. Pharma and consulting companies use it to capture, manage, and report. So we have already covered this: product complaints for drugs, biologics, devices, and vaccines. So I know that we all have a lot of experience with capturing the product data, like normal company product and in normal adverse events. But now we also have vaccines that we can configure. Since the 2020, we have a lot of configuration about the vaccines, and because of vaccines, we use devices like syringe and all, and their configuration and their reporting. So when they say product complaints, it is like most of the time it is associated with a combo device or a device configuration that is required from admin side. Biologics and drugs, the only difference is that now FDA has CDER and CBER, Central Drug and Central Biologics, two departments within the FDA to monitor the issues or the adverse events related to drugs and biologics. So that depends on what on your licensing. So we can give them a drug license or a biologics license. So that will be a BLA number you must have configured. You must have seen, right? BLA number is for some certain US drugs, and for some you have IND number and NDA numbers. So that is how the difference comes between drugs and biologics, and how it presents on your product screen. So how you configure in your product section, and what licenses you give them. Suppose you give them, so Argus has, for example, picture it like this, that when you say that I have a clinical drug, right? And you want it as to go as a IND number. So what do we do as an admin? How do we take that requirement? We take that requirement in the configuration. We configure the license with investigational drug type, which is an by default in the system. Whenever there's an investigational drug type configured for a license for a same country, it will capture and send the IND report. When you say, right, I want a CT report for this, I want a PM destination for this, for us, it translates simply into that you want an investigational drug license configured for this product, and you also want a PM drug license configured for this product. And for this requirement, this will be transmitted to a US FDA CEDAR body as an IND drug. The IND drug license information would be transmitted if that is present in the case. Else, if it is a post-marketed, then it will get transmitted in using your post-marketed rules. So this is how things are related: country, licenses, and what is the license type. This forms the core of your product drug, which you call it, what do you call, product license drug configuration or studies, PLS, product license and studies configuration, PLS configuration. So that second point is about that. And I think with describing this point, I have also described about the submissions. So E2B R3 and FDA, EMA, MHRA, PMDA are the bodies. PMDA is for Japan, MHRA is for Korea, EMA is for European Union.
I'm sorry, MHRA is with UK.
Yeah, MHR is with UK, sorry, and EMA is with European Union, FDA is US, and E2BR3 is just the report type format, ICH, ICR, ICSR report format, which is in DHL7. So uh, how we configure the reporting type, that is also something that we can configure. You can ask for SIOMs, like MHR still accepts SIOMs report. FDA still accepts a 3500A drug report format, but from 2026 of next year, half mid, it is all going into E2BR3, especially the clinical trial license type cases. Cases having clinical trial or IND licenses type are definitely going to the E2BR3. So now all pharma companies, biopharma companies are configuring the systems, Argus or any safety database system that they're using to be able to transmit successfully E2BR3 to the ESG, which is the FDA gateway. So this is how we are translating. This is an example of how we are translating your regulations that is coming up into your technical knowledge and into your business knowledge. So actually, these are not separate. In a unit, in a business unit, all of these three things work together to, prevent any audit findings or for patient safety. So other than that, there is also TPA for Australia, regulatory bodies, and there is NMPA for China, and we have for Taiwan. They have their own specific R3 reports. Similarly, South America, we have for Argentina and all, we configure the R3 report only. So right now, E2B R3 report has become the format because it allows you to transmit more detailed information of a case at one go. So earlier we were able to transmit E2B R2. E2B R2 is still used, but most of them are being moved into the R3 transmissions. Is there any other questions on this slide for anyone? You can.
No, Sneha. Just proceed. Yeah.
Yeah, go to the next, please. So this is directly we are jumping into things that you see on the Argus screen when you're processing a case. And I'm sure that most of you are aware of all these things: the workflow states, the case intake and triage, data entry and coding, and the medical assessment. So these are the main states, right, of workflow states when you walk through a case in Argus, and they're assigned to different user groups. The person who is doing the user who is assigned in the case intake and triage rarely do the data entry and the coding. So data entry and coding comes within the same step view. It obviously in Argus everything, including the product. If there are a lot of concomitant products, you definitely have to encode using the WHO drug dictionary, which is again directly linked into your Argus safety. You don't have to do something out of the box to get that. So this is again the configuration of the WHO drug dictionary and the meta coding, which is going on in many organizations right now. the Medra coding, because it starts from the 1st of September, and people try to get this done for by end of November. In my company, it is going on till now for some of the tenants, because we have to convince them that why you need to record all your uh, past cases. And some tenants might even have, when I say tenants, some companies, okay, some companies might even have that end of study coming, or they have their end date of the end of study unblinded, and some causes like this in which they don't want any recoding, because that leads to reconciliation efforts whenever a dictionary, meta dictionary is released. So Medra upgrade happens twice in a year. I'm sure all of you are aware of that. And whenever there is a Medra upgrade, the Hoodrup dictionary update also happens simultaneously. That is just for the ease of doing configuration efforts, for whether you're getting it done from the Oracle or you're doing it in-house. So this is something that you can do in Argus now on its own. Earlier, we used to be having a separate access and separate schema creation through schema loader tool, but now Argus in the 8.4 versions, we can do this recoding within the configuration screen itself. So you have tools in the console, and I don't have one that Kiran sir has. So we don't have any UI of the console screen right now in this presentation. And but I'm sure that in future we all are aligned. You can have a, I can go, help you go through with that screen as well. So we can do this Medra updates and dictionary updates, which is twice in a year, through the Argus configuration. This is something, again, the admin task. This comes under the Argus admin task. And validation efforts is a one-time activity for this, because we do an impact assessment always, whether it is required or not, because it's an audit requirement. Like whenever you're going through a dictionary upgrade, you know that you're doing the process, everything is all right, but your auditors can ask you that when you went from 28.0 to 28.1J browser, are you sure that these English terms have been translated when you move the Japanese dictionary correctly? Can we see an evidence of it? But Argus makes it all easy, because you have your Medra browser utility within the Argus screen itself, and you can show all your old terms and new terms coded to the latest version, whichever you have used. That right now it is 28.1J. So you can just show that yes, see, my old cases, my legacy cases means that migrated cases from older system or from Excel sheets are also coded with the latest Medra terms. It is an important requirement, regulatory requirement, to have your events coded with Medra and your products coded as per the WHO drug and company drug dictionary. Okay. Um, then this all part is taken care in the QC workflow, quality control, data entry, and quality control workflow of Argus. The second point. The first point is your case intake and triage. Some may have only case intake and not have triage, but some may have triage, because where they have multiple partners, especially like you have your intake from multiple partners for your intake. In that case, you also have triage workflow state. And again, these workflow states are something that is configurable from your Argus screen. I am not yet pointing out the required database table, because that will be too much information at one go and you will be overwhelmed. So I'm just limiting this to how you are going to see it in your Argus console screen. So workflow states and everything are configurable and editable. Like if you don't want intake, you can make it something else. But most of the time, almost everyone uses similar names, like it is data entry or case logging or um, intake, just intake, triage, QC, quality control, internal quality control. And if there are multiple medical reviews, some may have more than internal, external medical review team, right? So you have medical review state. And I also mentioned about users, user group, and user roles. So Argus has two, basically it's divided into two user roles. Okay, so if you must have ever been raising a request for yourself or your team member that as a lead, that you must, that my particular team member needs an Argus case processing role, Argus medical reviewer role, right? So you must be wondering that what is the difference? Because you all log in using the similar your name, user ID, and password. So the difference is the user groups that you are assigned and the workflow states that you can see. So as an admin, I can move my case through all the workflow state, assign it to anyone I want, and also see the Argus console, see the advanced condition library and other things. As a medical reviewer, I have only medical reviewer role. So at most, medical reviewer cannot even generate the line listings. From your report section, you can generate aggregate reports line listing, right? SIOMs, case listing. So you might be able to see, you might not be able to see the next submissions workflow state details. You just have the access to push your case to the next workflow state. You cannot maybe you do not have the access to move a case to closure, or you don't have the access to log the case. For example, I'm just saying what the thing actions that you are limited to for each workflow state. It depends on that. So that is the difference when you say that I belong to the case processing user group. And case processing user group, until unless you're in a lower environment, should not be doing the medical review team. This allows for the data integrity of the database system and your safety database and your data. So this is about assessment. And medical review state is basically your doctors and physicians who evaluates the company drug product for the seriousness, causality, and because they have more experience in this. And I don't have a lot of knowledge what the medical reviews do, but until unless they ask me that we are not able to move our case into the next workflow state, or you were not able to move it back, because you should also be having access to move your case workflow state back, right? If you find some issues, you will move it back to the data entry state from medical assessment or medical review. So other than that I don't have a lot of knowledge what actually happens in the medical review state, but Kiran would be the right person if you have questions what happens in that medical review state. And so basically, what we know is that the seriousness, the case seriousness, and the event seriousness are all evaluated. The relatedness, like whether it was, if it was having an, if it has a investigational license, then the how it was calculated, the causality, the relatedness was yes, no. And in Argus, you can only do this event assessment for suspect company drugs. You cannot evaluate the assessment and the listedness based on your concomitant products which are not your company drugs, which like you encoded using the WHO drug dictionary. You cannot calculate the causality or relatedness, whatever you call it, in Argus for those drugs. But right now in Argus, for certain concomitant drugs, there's a configuration for study drugs. You can choose in the study configuration if you want a concomitant, where we choose, right? It's a comparator or a study drug or a placebo, that kind you want to use it for a evaluation in your causality or not. We have a configuration, but I have not seen, in my experience, I have not seen many companies still using it. And we do the assessment of event assessment based on your company suspect drugs only. So I'm going to move to the next slide. And this is something, signal detection and risk mitigation is something where you generate the DSURs and PBRERs, right? Aggregate reports, SIOMs listings, case listings, and that you use for signal detection for future patient safety. Right now, signal detection has become more proactive. Like you generate the reports and you also see that at what demography, how much effective. And the best example would be Eli Lilly's Ozempic and Novo Nordisk Ozempic product, so that they were able to beat the market based on these reports that we provide them. Signal detection. So signal detection in Argus is done via Empirica safety. I don't have a lot of knowledge within the Empirica, but I know what signal detection does. And I have generated PBRERs and DSURs, but from the technical aspect of it, not from the PV aspect of it. And I can learn from you guys about the PV aspects of understanding it. So even we can generate PADER, we can configure PADER reports within Argus, and all you have to do is once it is configured, you just have to generate it periodically. I think it is 6 months. Every 6 months, you send it to the FDA. And when it is not for the FDA, you have your PBRERs for your MHRAs. Please correct me if I'm wrong about that. But that's that. And these are all, again, configurable within your Argus systems at one go. You can use advanced conditions. You can use your product family specific or study specific. whether it's for study, not for study, but yeah, if you have post-marketed studies, PM studies, you can configure it in that particular way. So that is one thing that Argus provides. And system administration. So we talked about so this system administration here. Something it talks about what you see in your Argus console screen. So you have user management, you have code lists, you have your business configuration, and your dictionary updates, which we talked in the earlier slide, if you remember. So when you, as an admin, if you have ever seen the console of Argus, you will have first your code list. The code list has two parts: the Argus default code list and the flexi code list. The flexi code list was added recently since the start of E2B R3. So that allows your Argus database to, configure fields, R3 fields specific to different bodies. We read about PMDA, we read about NMPA. You must have done reporting for Taiwan, and they have specific requirement for their bodies. One of the best things is that for Korea, you have about the study should be in Korean language configuration. Similarly, Japanese people have their own requirements, right? So EMA, if you see that they use a specific EMA template in their profiles, and that has like a different specific determination of what needs to be transmitted and what are mandatory and what would result in error. So if you have ever run a draft R3 report, you must have seen a lot of errors pop up, and based on these profiles we have these errors, that why it cannot be transmitted, the patient data exceeds this length. When you are configuring for an EMA country, you definitely need to have your UDRA number configured for the study, right? These kind of errors you must have seen. So all this kind of configuration at the study level is done by the system administration, as it is mentioned. So the user types. If you are a Japan user and you are assigned to a Japan workflow, you would definitely need to have given that user Argus J user role. This is just another nuance I'm talking in brief. So normally we are all Argus user, but if you want to use the Japan screen of Argus, you have to be having a Argus J user role, and so that you can switch between Argus normal screen and the Argus J screen. So when you use Argus screen, you can see your entire screen in Japanese language, but you will also be able to use the English version for translations. You must have seen for people who have processed cases for in Japan workflow, right? Any questions in the second point? Because that's a very huge topic, but with respect to time and with respect to keeping within the agenda, I have given a brief description of what we can do in Argus console. So you can configure studies also, study arms and workflow states, even the case numbering, what kind of case numberings you want, or you want to consult a new tenant into Argus, what is the case number that you want and how it impacts your future cases. All things can be administered within your Argus console. The dictionary version that you use for E2B reporting, whether for how do you want your SUSAR, what is the logic for your SUSAR, when you want to auto close your cases, when it is in this workflow state, so and so, and you want it to auto close within 7 days or 15 days, all these rules can be configured within your Argus console system configurations screen. Any questions in this point, or should I move forward?
Configuration changes means you will do with the license also, license.
Yes.
And
Correct.
country, based on the country, as you said previously.
Yes.
Based on the country, you will change the, if it is E2B, if it is a COMs required, if it is
Yes.
like that, you will do the configuration changes,
Yes.
right? With
Yes.
numbers and everything.
Yes. So like when you said countries comes into your code list part. So the list of countries, you must have heard A2 countries and A3 countries, where the code of countries is EU, or otherwise it is US or USA, one of the best examples. And each of these countries have a unique code in the backend tables. Like 107 stands for Japan, 203 stands for USA. It's the backend ID for that. So countries are like factory data. We call it as factory data. It comes by default in the Argus system. Now this country data, you can use it in the license configuration. So you have, before you start any product configuration, you definitely need to have two things. Always remember this. So one is the ingredient. You already know, when I say ingredient, it can also translate as the active substance or API, in whatever language you call it. So we need to have that configured in your code list. When you have your ingredient configured, and if you also have to configure a study, you have to have a protocol ID. You call it a project ID also in the business language, but you need to have a particular protocol ID. When you have this all configured in your code list, then you move to your business configuration screen, or tab that you can call it within the console. There you configure a family. The family is very specific to each ingredient. Suppose a company that you're working for, like for example, you're working for Pfizer. It has 5 APIs in its database. So 5 APIs means 5 product families would be there. Unless, and most of the time this is the most common configuration, and within that 5 product family you can have multiple products, like it can be in a tablet formulation, it can be in a syrup formulation, it can be in a combo like injector, right? You use a syringe or as a device and also as a solution for injection, formulation. Within these 3 examples that I gave as formulation, it can have the licenses. So there in that licenses, you bring in your data sheet, like, because see, USA would be using one specific USPI data sheet, right? And European Union can be using their SMPC or what do you call, RSA data sheet, something like that, for marketed products, and IB for their clinical trials. So you map in that license screen, you're going to map your product formulation to the trade name that you call, right? We use the term, you must have heard from admins telling the trade name or the generic name. So it translates like that. Whatever the client gives us, we configure that way for that particular, for example, solution for injection. We configure the license based on the country, then we give them the data sheet. And if it is a device, there's a device code, which is also a mandatory field if you're configuring a device or a combo device. And then you give the, when this country and this data sheet and the license number, IND number, suppose it's for USA, you have to provide the type. Suppose it is for China, you provide CTA. You remember, you must be knowing the CTA. So you have a field there where you put in CTA, and then you put the unique number that we get from you. As an admin, I get this information from your team, that what is the, and this is something that client should have a predefined value, even if it is a European Union. So by default, after the Brexit, you don't have to configure separate license for Poland, Romania, Spain, Italy. You just configure European Union, one country for all these. And within this European Union, you can give them one license and move across. It is easy, and it is, best way to not lose your submissions and reports, expedited reporting. So all these are configurable under the license screen. And when I mentioned about the project ID, you have a separate screen for study where you can configure multiple arms. You have multi-arm studies, right? So Argus can, within that protocol, you can configure multiple studies, single arm study, multiple arm study. But for configuring a study, you should have your product formulation, family and product already configured. In the study screen, we just add that details. You can also configure for each product, whether it has 3 products, like for example, placebo, it has one comparator drug, it has, for example, study drug not administered, and one is the company study drug, right? So all these 3 drugs you can configure in the study screen as blinded or unblinded. So suppose it is double blinded, in that we will make the placebo and the company study product as blinded. It becomes your double blinded study. So are you able to translate this information, because these are the information that we get from your team and this is how we put it in our console, and that is how the data works for you. So if you want, I can simplify it better, but just let me know if anybody has any other questions on this. So coming to your reporting part, I haven't seen the name who has asked this question. So your question also answers the third point that we have in the slide, compliance monitoring. So under the business configuration, we have expedited reporting rules configuration. And within that, we again use this country, the license that we configured previously, and then we configure certain rules. So it can be like event should be serious, or event should be listed or always unlisted, then the 7-day rule will fire to the destination. So for a reporting rule, additional code list item that needs to be added is the reporting destination. Reporting destination is nothing but the place where you provide us with the information about the agency, like the FDA. So FDA is a regulatory authority body, and suppose you have licensed partners. So the licensed partners can be like, for example, Synos or IQVIA. So these people, for if they are doing an AXVIC transmission of the reports, the E2B reports. When we say electronic transmission, it is always in the form of E2B reports. Then we definitely need to have your agency ID and the sender ID. So compulsory, and the gateway is configured. It should be active on both sides. So if you remember, I talked about companies going into FDA R3 from this 3500A drug format, MedWatch format into your R3. So definitely all the companies would be getting a license for their ESG gateway. So they will be connecting their output folders or outgoing folders into the incoming folder of ESG. When I say ESG, it is the FDA gateway. And definitely, like suppose if you have clinical trials, so CEDAR IND would go this way. And all these things are available in their website. So when you go into the FDA website, they have the technical ETRF documents that gives you the mapping of each element that you see, whether it is a product mapping or your a patient data mapping or your patient history details mapping, the lab data mapping, that how much length of each things you can transmit, are these required or not, or if it is not required, we have to make the profile to based on the rules, we will give a validation error that you cannot transmit this R3 profile to the FDA, and it will stop at your Argus screen until unless you resolve the errors. I'm sure that you must have raised tickets or issues that why is my case failing here? It is not generating the R3 correctly. You must have all worked with your team to resolve these issues. So we still get a lot of issues with Japan PMDR3s and Korea, because there are a lot of customizations from Argus for their R3s. So that's an example. So we from there we can configure the 15-day, 7-day, 30-day reports. Anything beyond 30, 45 days are called as periodic reports. So expedited reports, when you do, it's configured mostly 30 days, like for non-serious cases. Otherwise, it is most of the time it is between 7 to 15 days. The rules, the destination, and if you can also use advanced conditions there to configure the rules. So I'm moving on to the next slide. Any questions, please, on this? This covers the core of Argus configuration, this slide. So this is again the Kiran, please help me here that this is, I think, the workflow of how the data flows within the Argus node and the certifications that it requires, right, Kiran? So basically, this is like the structure of your Argus safety application that is built on Java and the UI and the database, and how the data flows within the Argus nodes. So this part is something that I am not an SME on, but I think Kiran sir is talking on mute, or he has not heard my question. So I'll quickly move to the next slide, but this is something about the data flow and how at each point your uh, authorization happens with the AG services. So you must have heard of AG services and AG logs also. So these are the various web servers that is connected to your Argus UI. So depending on the size of the cases that you get, Argus safety infra is built in such a way that if you are processing 10,000 cases per day, or you're processing 100 cases per day, and you are on Argus Enterprise cloud system, So we also leverage Argus safety services, which is like whether you're using multi-tenant Argus or a single tenant Argus, they are mandatory. And Argus safety services are something that is built on a separate web server. So you think of it as a separate computer system, and each of these work together. So when you say that I'm using automatic auto scheduling rules, so auto scheduling rules, how does it work? They have an automated services, like when it is active within the AG services, when it is running through the IIS server, it automatically, when you run that rule, when you enter the case and you click on auto schedule button on for that case under the regulatory reports tab, it automatically schedules the 7-day or the 15-day reports, right? Whether it's an initial case or a follow-up or the follow-up number. So in the backend, there's AG services, which is doing the bulk ICSR transmit. You must have seen this in your work list menu options also, some of you. So all these things, bulk ICSR transmit or the bulk transmit for email services via the SMTP, are carried on by these AG services running silently in the separate server. So always the web server for Argus that you see on the UI, and that saves your case data. You must have seen that Argus also saves your case data, whatever you enter for a previous case. It allows you to reselect the same value, whether it is a patient or whether it is a lab report data, right? So that this is happening on your web server. The AG services are connected in a separate server. All the data that is scheduled and a report is getting drafted in your regulatory reports are again going into your separate ESM database schema, and that is running on a separate server. They have their own interchange services running that transmits your data from your Argus to FDA or your Argus to this. So I'm sure this workflow explains about all this, but I'll quickly move to the next slide. Please let me know if uh, it's all okay, because I can't hear anyone.
Yes, you can go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you. Okay, now coming to we talked so much about Argus and what we do in Argus configuration. So this simple table will tell you when if you're looking for Argus administration roles and jobs, what you need to learn. So we have already explained all these terms if you see, but I'm going to help you put it. So basically, if you see roles saying that if you have Argus configuration knowledge, you can do reporting rules knowledge. All this transmits under Argus administration. One aspect of Argus administration, that is the starting point. So when you say managing users, products, dictionaries, reporting rules, access control is again very similar to, see, managing users is one thing, and when you say access control, you are able to understand in detail that when I give a user advanced library user access, what is going to happen, how is it going to reflect on the UI of Argus, what am I going to see. So this is something that is a level of understanding how you build upon. You can be a case processing user. Okay, I can see these menu options, I cannot say this option, I cannot update. As a case processing user, you will notice that in the event assessment tab, you will not be able to edit the listings, listedness values. You will be able to see the assigned data sheets for each company product event, right? But you will not be able to update or even edit the listedness values, because that is something very specific to the medical reviewer role, right? So this is an example of domain knowledge. When I'm talking about domain knowledge, this is how it translates for the word access control. Database management, we have not talked about database, but everything, when I said code list, they are in the backend, they are being stored in the LM tables. When I talked about Argus AG services, AG services are also running and they have their separate user IDs. So there are certain users that you cannot deactivate in Argus console. If you have an access, you can open the user access screen, you search for your user ID, but there'll be some users which are called as service user. You have a service user small checkbox. If anybody has got the opportunity to see the user screen, there'll be a small service user kind of checkbox. When you check that box, you become a service user. Like, means your user ID is being used to run some of the AG services that we talked about in the previous slide. So similarly, when you say Oracle backend and database management is that understanding how you build upon the tables. When we say advanced conditions, so advanced conditions, you don't have the access from the UI, but if you have the read only grant access for the Argus database, you will be able to query on the CFG advanced conditions library, AG's advanced condition query sets library, and using the IDs you can go and read the SQL queries written for that advanced conditions also. That is the meaning of database, like how you are able to use the UI values into the database to log into the database and check at the database end that what I see on the UI. Like you see that many times when you do case intake and import, you say that my import is failing, it is not coming, I cannot see, it is not even coming the failed part, it is not coming in the successful part also. I have put the right destination, I have put the interchange process date, but I cannot see my XML file, it is not even throwing an error, right? And then you raise a request that why I can't see my XML file, I put it in the SFTP, why it is not coming. So what we do, we go and check first in the safety reports table, so and so, that what is happening, why they are not able to see the case. Then many times we see that due to an issue in the format of your XML file, or your XML DTD element is missing, the schema validation failed, then that XML file is not coming into the safety reports table itself. Because of that, safety, it is not coming the safety reports table, database table, it is not showing on your UI as well. So what we it means is that we need to fix the um, XML file that we have used for transmission into the um, uh, uh, Argus screen. Sometimes it shows in the error under your utilities, under your reports, you have a place that import failure, and it gives a small reason where it gives in a very 3 or 4 words, it gives a reason, duplicate file. So it can happen that the message identifier has been duplicated, or the unique values in each, even if it is a follow-up, other than the date, the safety report ID should remain the same for a existing case. And though in that case also, Argus allows you to choose to, in a duplicate search screen, that you want to create a initial case or a follow-up case, right? So all these things are managed in the XML. So this requires a little bit knowledge of the XML file. R2 is a easily readable XML file, but R3 is not very easily readable, but the concept remains the same. You can find the receiver ID, the sender ID in the XML file of R3, which are necessary for a transmission, the doc type, like UTF-8, we call the configuration, and R2 uses 88591. So these all details are present in our XML file, and you should also have an understanding to read an XML file, right? Which is necessary because it relates to the business knowledge as well as your transmission of E2B R3 and configuration knowledge. Because whatever you is there in your case only is getting transmitted as the E2B data in the XML file, right? So this is an example of when they say domain knowledge, it all these things comes within the domain knowledge. So as mentioned in the common roles, what you will see in LinkedIn or Naukri is Argus SME, support engineer, Argus support engineer, Argus administrator, and or Argus configuration expert, something like that would be present uh, in detail. And basically, most of the time with Argus admin, they will always ask you if you have some SQL knowledge also. Any questions in this? I'm sure you have questions, but yeah, we have time for that, I hope. So I'll move to the next slide if there are no questions. Okay. So we have already covered this, and this is what is listed as a summary, that what you need to learn: user and user group configuration. You have your product license, business configuration, the reporting rules configuration. So the periodic reports, it's like configuring the COMs or the line listing, which is quite straightforward. You need to build an understanding of the logic that is happening in the advanced conditions that you're going to use, and what you need in the values, like when you're running a listing. And I'm sure that when you understand a monthly SAE listing, so why your client is requesting this listing with, is it because they have to have an audit requirement, or is it something like a workflow management that they want to do, something like that. E2B gateway setup is again, which is related to the ESM schema, and it explains, it connects to the Axway your Argus to your regulatory body, and your XML knowledge here will be useful. That why your XML transmission failed, right? It shows in your bulk IC set transmit, but it's showing as failed. It is showing the red light. It is still in the green light. Why you're not receiving an MDN? So you, when you're able to debug your XML file or your reporting destination, that all translates as a E2B gateway setup. There are more things on the Axway side, but I'm not an expert on the Axway as yet. But from the Argus screen, whatever happens from the Argus side on the database side, I can navigate. And we also have some Axway expert that they say that maybe your SSL or certificate at the Axway for this particular organization field. So there's always an SSL certification also happens that is reviewed periodically, whether you are connected to the FDA ESG gateway or the EMA, EV Web, EV Human Gateway that you have. So they all have certifications because you're translating regulated data, right? So again, case lock, case unlock. You must have done locking of the case, unlocking of the case, and you must have seen it in your routing comments, right? So this is all managed by a separate table that we have, case user groups. And moving to the next slide. Again, this is a summary of what we have already discussed earlier. This is about validation, what you need to know. Like case master table, case event table, this all captures your case data. And case master is one of the most important tables, and that is joined by the unique case ID, which you don't see on the UI, but each case case number has a case ID associated with it. And architecture, we briefly discover the web services, the database, the schema, and the user UI servers. So it's basically like built on Java, and it has the UI that you see, and then it has the database server that you see, and the multiple services that keeps running the backend system that you don't see. So everything, whether you're scheduling a report, whether you are trying to send an email for your contact logs, or you're trying to generate an auto narrative, if you must have heard. So that is all again working through the database tiers as well as the Argus services tier to keep the system running. And there are multiple this like basically the services and where the logs and all the services are stored are maintained by Oracle directly, because they need to be, you should not be able to access these things like the how the services and the logs are generated, but you can always request them that if you feel that something is turned off, some services are not running or emails are not getting transmitted to the users, then we always raise a request with Oracle that please see that for this particular tenant we are not able to generate so and so email, we are not able to do this activity. So that particular services, whether it is a report scheduling or report auto scheduling or manual transmissions, these services are working or not, the email SMTP services are working or not, all these things, they send you a brief entire logs details. For each log there is also error logs are being maintained. You must have seen error logs is also visible on the Argus UI, but in details they are also maintained in your Argus service logs. And apart from this, for each action that you do, that they have a query also being generated in the backend in the services in the logs. All these things only Argus. So there are certain tables only which Argus Oracle team can access, and we don't have access to those tables. Like we have access to read the case master table, build views and triggers based on these case event or CM and reg reports table. But there are certain GMT and other user related tables that is maintained by them, including what you see in the audit logs. That is also having the separate audit logs tables in the backend in the database tier. So when you see service management, ITIL concept, so whatever request that you get, if you have a knowledge about the validation, GXP systems follows the GAMP guidelines. GAMP guidelines. So whenever there's a configuration change, and when I say a configuration change, that it affects globally how your case works. For example, system upgrade, like when Argus is going from 8.4.0 to 8.4.4, It is a system upgrade that will go through a change management. It will follow your validation life cycle. You will have a very specific validation team that will understand the requirement, what is changing. If it is at the UI level, what is changing, at the gateway level, what needs to be updated, at the configuration level, what needs to be updated, and we get an impact assessment for each of these changes. This impact is studied, and then the change request is going to the cap. And again, this entire process is being managed through a service management. So either you can use ServiceNow, you can use a simple Excel sheet to do this, or you can use Jira. Most of the companies nowadays are using Jira, or their in-house any incident or change management system. Basically, ServiceNow or Jira is what I have learned from my experience to manage this entire change management workflow, categorizing if it is a like you have a request for updating your profile. You're developing a custom profile for, say, Argentina R3, right? So that will be categorized as the risk level 5 or risk level 4, and then you would be doing your validation concept. You will be developing your user requirement, FRS, functional requirement, and then you will be developing your operational qualifications, PQs. PQs are also called as UATs. You will run the UATs, and if it is all successful, then we say that this is validated. So that comes under, that is all done. This validation part and all are taken care under the service management. When there are a lot of incidents also, that would lead to configuration or change or update. So that comes again under change management. So I have covered all the points, but we can ask questions in the end. So again, this point is which Arise trainings definitely provides. We have, from my own experience, we have a lot of mentors here. I call them mentors because they guide you with the business and the real time data, not just like you have in school. So the course here is just like, if you are like in Argus is now in Argus 8.4. So Rise training provides you that environment, that hands-on experience, that configure a reporting rule and show it to us. So it helps you build, whether even if it is a very small requirement, it might seem very simple, but it helps you build your concept. So I have been with Rise training since 2021. So I think this slide is about that. Or suppose if you find something else, that's fine. But I'm gonna speak for Rise training right now. So we just don't have Argus admin, but you want to build your medical narrative on medical writing skills, aggregate reporting skills. I think Rise training provides all those in detail. I'm moving to the next slide. So this is something that you can take an active action on, or you can, if you have a good team, ask if they have any material. Because see, most of the time the issue comes is with the access. When you say that you can assist them, most of the time when I'm resolving any issues, what I do is I take the operations team with me. We do a screen share, and I also guide them that what I'm doing on the screen, so that I that is my practice, but not many people do it, because issue happens in the learning is when you don't have an access, when you cannot do hands-on, then it's of no use, right? So when I'm doing a simple user access, I'm trying to troubleshoot that why a user is unable to access Argus even though we have provided so and so. For example, a simple issue, I try to take the requester with me who's having the issue and guide them on what I have done and what I have not seen. I have met there people who wants to learn, and many people try to navigate or work through the issues like that. So this slide helps that if you get that opportunity, don't say that it is not my work, I'm still busy. I know we all are busy when you're in the office and we want to just complete our 8-9 hours, and but if you get an opportunity to work with the admin team and they are ready to offer some knowledge, just take that. There are many places, even when I don't understand the patch updates or patch upgrades, and I always always say that, no, 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 you can share your screen and I'll work along with you. So first time you won't understand, but definitely the second time or later on when you are just doing something else, it will start making sense. So if you get an opportunity that somebody is trying to, take you to the console screen, and Argus, the best thing about Argus safety compared to VY is that you have lot of knowledge available for free as well. The user guides, the administration guide, if you just query on the Argus Oracle in your Google, you will be able to retrieve these PDF files, and if you read it, and they have even pictures inserted, so that will give you a lot of idea on your own, to understand what happens in the business configuration, how the code list actually looks like, what did she mean by flexi code list. So they have screenshots available for in their guides, and it is available for free for everyone. Even the database and the installation guides, if you are installing a new Argus system for a tenant, also basically from web services, what you need to install, the database tier and the UI tier, and it gives you an understanding of the architecture, that if you have these many cases per day, this is the kind of Argus you need to have, and these are the number of services you need to run, uh, which are very basic, so that your system is not stuck. Everything is about the play of amount of data, right? So you need to have storage for that. So updating your resume and LinkedIn profile. So one of my cheat trick for this is, for whatever application you're applying. So try to make your resume have those terms that they have used in the requirements. Like they said, Oracle administrator. Try to use Oracle administrator as is in that. If they're saying, you definitely need to have knowledge. When I'm not saying that just copy paste that and say, and I'm not saying to do that. I'm saying that whatever they, because some companies use different set of requirements. Some use very extensive details. Some use 3 or 4 lines to explain that. Okay, so try to trim your resume in that way. And definitely, I'm not saying that just trim your resume. Don't learn and then trim your resume based on that. Okay, so if they are saying that you need to have studies and license configuration, just use the same word in your resume. It's just because you want, if they use ATS, automatic tracking system, to track the keywords. That enables you to, at least pass on the first stage of your resume getting screened. So that is one of the trick that we use, because it is the same thing configuration, but they many people write it in different ways, right? So for this, I have one this trick which I said. I'm moving to the next slide. So if you see CSV, Argus Validation Analyst, please don't think that this is not going to help me, because when you do validation or testing, that builds your core knowledge. Because for testing any functionality, you need to understand how it works. Then only you are able to be able to test it properly. So it will not only give you an access to the system, it will also help you test it and understand that why it is not working. Especially that negative scenarios are so useful in learning, and the positive scenarios definitely help. So we have also added CSV, Argus Validation Analyst roles. So you don't get Argus validation most of the time. You get a validation analyst, CSV, and they put RSG or Argus and Viva Vault Safety now. So you can have opportunities in the same role with all these different titles.
Hello, Shravani. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was a great presentation, Shravani. Even I feel like getting back to job after all the insights and the inputs, the valid insights which is with you. And thank you, Pradeep. And he's also one of the alumni of Rice Training, so I'm happy to see you here. And
Okay.
thank you so much, guys. You have made this weekend very valuable to us, especially Sneha.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much, Kiran.
very valuable because through it's 1 hour session, you were giving your all valuable knowledge. Okay, only the thing is, I'll be dropping off Sneha. You please continue with this session. Have 5 more minutes and take up our
Okay.
students' questions. And if anyone want to join our course, definitely you can message me. And we
Sure,
are
sure,
starting
Kiran.
from 1st December. You just give me our contact, our institution contact. And thank you so much, Neha. And you have added value to our trainings, and you have shown the same gratitude, the kind of reflection which you have given back to us. Thank you so much, Neha.
Thanks so much, Kiran. Yeah, thank you so much. So just give me 5 more minutes. I know I'm taking time, but it always happens with me. So I'm sorry for speaking too much, but I think we have already covered. So the slides that I moved in is all the things that we have already covered. And basically, this all explains. So SQL and PL/SQL relation database understanding is something that comes in the end. Power BI is uh, being built on now. OBI is built on top of your already existing Argus Safety Insight data mart database. So OBI is like the UI exists, it's an Oracle system, and the SQL people develop custom queries, complex queries, and we as a user just have to run those existing custom queries, schedule it, run it, and you are able to generate the Excel report in Excel format. So that is about OBI. Power BI is something even I am learning, and Power BI uses existing data from any source. It can use data from any source, and you're like able to analyze the data, build dashboards on the data using Power BI. So that is about Power. I'm still learning about using Power BI because Oracle has its own multiple ways of generating data and dashboards using Insight and OBIs. They have their own regulatory and reporting part of within the Argus Oracle Health Sciences. But I have seen Power BI on used on top of Viva Vault Safety for reporting, and basically that requires a little bit of querying knowledge. And if you're very good with Excels, that is also a add-on. So don't undervalue your Excel skills if you have that. Moving on to the next one. Again, these are all our understanding of what we have already discussed: the codeless business configuration, access management, advanced condition set, and conditions are something they all end up as a sequel in the back end. But it here in using advanced conditions, you're able to see what fields you're querying on what. So advanced conditions are when you want to, it's like a filter on the list of cases. You just think of it as a filter that what kind of cases I want for this kind of output. So you put like the report type is so and so, the country is so and so, the case classification is so and so, and belongs to these study IDs or protocol IDs, something. And then you get a list of cases. Always the output of an advanced condition, it will be list of cases only. Remember that trick. The output of advanced conditions or advanced query sets are always list of cases. You can't expect advanced condition to give you a list of anything else, like list of events or something. You can generate that in an Excel and just get the list of events. But in short, advanced condition is something like you can build a filter on the kind of cases that you want to derive from your uh, tenant or enterprise. So all these points are something that an Argus admin builds knowledge on. See, nobody is learned from we are not learning it from childhood. It's all we learn when we are working, and we meet different people and learn from them. So E2P profiles are nothing but the XMLs which I talked about, and how we troubleshoot the XMLs. So it requires your regulation knowledge. You must have heard about EU Addendum 6 requirements, right? In which the sender organization details, sender details needs to be masked and need not be transmitted, because if you are sending that, definitely the EMA body will mask it, but it will also fail your submission and you will get a negative ACK. So for that, we are trying to update all our EMA destinations, especially EV human and EV CTM prod destinations, both associated with EMA. that the C3 values, C.3.R.3 values, which has your sender, reporter, first name, last name, email, blah, 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 in the reporter information, that is coming up as masked. So how do we translate it? We are not going to configure the reporting destination sender details only within our destination. We'll just keep it as NA, or that depends on what each company decides. But for these two destinations, we will just remove the sender details, whatever we add, phone number, country details, and all, right, in our configuration, the reporting destination. So these two destination, we will remove these details. We'll keep it as all blank, or we'll keep it as mask, or some UNK, whatever is the value allowed, and so that it appears as blank. So that's one example of how you're translating the regulations to your configurations and on the UI and your case processing. Going to the next point. So this is about building knowledge on your reports. Like, many people are interested in the reporting parts of it, DSUR, PADER, listings. So our configuration also involves having an little bit understanding of what should go in a PADER and what should go in a CIOMS, and why a client requests for the similar data as CIOMS, and as well as a PADER, as well as a DSUR, right? So PBRER is something when you are evaluating, and which will later feed in your signal detection reports. For example, PADER is something very specific to FDA. So AOSC, which I have seen, is they do this for particular suspect, a drug, active ingredient with each PT terms, which are the common PT terms, I think. So basically AOSC has this, like, for all valid cases, they evaluate for one API with respect to one particular PT term or HLT term. HLT group of terms. HLTs and PT are, again, I'm talking in the sense of MEDRA hierarchy. You must have heard HLGT, HLT, PT, and LLT. Okay. Moving to the next slide. So again, these are all our different names for already what we have discussed. This architecture comprises of all these things. So load balancing is also like a server, and where you have multiple tenants. Like Argus uses multiple tenants architecture specifically in a CRO. You can configure multiple tenants within the same database, and you can access different tenants. So there, load balancing is required, and load balancing is something that is effective. Like, that server is there for all your tenants. Like, you don't have to configure different load balances for each tenant. It's like it balances the data between your web server and your services, like how much data you're processing. So that you are able to process or move your case, because most of us complain, right? My Argus is not moving. Why the validation Argus is so slow? It is not, the cases are not moving in the next workflows. It all depends on how your services and how much web services and data servers you are using, and how you are doing the load balancing. All those stuff, again, very specific to Oracle, and requires deep infra knowledge to understand how it works actually. So you can get a knowledge about this in the user guides and the installation guide. And also, when you have there's a specific user guide for multi-tenancy of Argus Enterprise. There they explain about using the load balancer servers and what is the best way to configure these load balancer servers. Again, Argus CSM safety interchange, when you see, is, remember that it is about the gateways, and there it stores all your reports that is generated. Reports in the sense the PSUR kind and the ICSR kind. When I say PSUR kind, is the periodic reports. When I say ICSR kind, it means the expedited XML reports. Even the CIOMS comes under the ICSR kind. So when you when they talk about migration and upgrade, it means upgrading to the next version within the same safety database, or migrating from one system like LSS, RST LSS to Argus. So whenever you migrate from one database system, you always have a signed copy of data mapping you follow the data mapping guys and you create your own data mapping Excel sheet. So it talks about the source and the target system, what is the field, and how you're going to map the case data to this field, and if there are any transformation required. Because you're not just mapping the case data, but you also have to map your configuration data also. You can't have your case without the product being configured in both the database, right? In your target system. So these are something that you can build on slowly, the migration and data mapping knowledge, but you can definitely start with this safety configurations, business configurations. Okay. So this is what I was talking about, the Argus safety business configuration. These are again the workflow states that we configure under the system configuration. Entry, assessment is QC, a triage, or if there are any external partners, then triage, quality review, medical review, and submissions or distributions. And then you have your auto closures, the last, when there are no follow-ups being expected for a case. This is something that is specific for learning. So this is like the syllabus that how RISE trainings enable and teach you going through each module wise. So this is present in this PPT, but they will also provide you with the entire syllabus and guidelines that um, uh, this is the module, this is the number of hours that we will cover this module, and they also give you a time for hands on the tool along with your instructor or mentor. So this explains about what uh, the skills and how they help you, get jobs related to this in once you are certified with RISE trainings Argus admin course. So any questions? Anyone? I think
Sneha, at present, I don't have any questions to ask you. Why? Because you have give the oversight, whatever you means how to do that configuration things. If it is a hands-on experiences, definitely gives the more clarity when compared with the oversight, as per my understanding.
yes. So for that, please register with RISE trainings and Kiran sir.
Yeah.
And if you want to take it forward, because it's really helpful, because at the end it's the access part that you don't learn. If you want to learn, you need to really have access, because even initially in my career also, we had to fight for access. I work for Amgen, and for getting an access within the console for, like, say, interchange mapping is not visible where you store your profile. So I have console access, but I cannot see the interchange mapping, cannot see the profiles, because again, that is hidden from me, and you need to do specific training. So the bigger the pharma organization, they have to build the control. That is how you control access. Give a user only that much access as much is required, which is a GXP process that they have to follow. It's not that they do it on purpose or they don't want to learn. It's not like that. This is the process that you follow when you're working for a pharma company or a CRO. They give limited access to users because of data breach or data security, all these issues. So it's easy to maintain, when you see that you have 5 admins, so anything goes wrong, you can easily check the 5 users audit logs. Configuration audit logs is also available, that who made changes to the product, who made changes to the studies, at what time, what user was deactivated, what user was not deactivated. Everything uh, is done, it can be checked in the audit logs. So that is why the access, so the best thing about these kind of courses that is available and is that it is like an investment. So it's definitely, for me it has worked as an investment, so I'm talking from my experience. And I did not prepare anything in this meeting. So if you want to build an edge, and it has definitely helped me in my career, and it gives a confidence that you meet people. Like I met Kiran sir, who has a lot of knowledge in this area. I met Arpit sir, who has a lot of knowledge in this area. And basically in corporate world, if you talk to knowledgeable people, you build your knowledge every day. So this is what one of the benefits, that why you need to do the trainings, whichever field you are interested in. Not everyone is interested to be an administrator, right? Argus administrator. So if you have I'm really interested in this field and I enjoy working in this. So for me it was a very small, it feels like a small investment. And I'm still connected to these people. I'm saying that I have known these people since mid of 2020 to 2021. Since 2021 I'm like continuously in touch and with this group. Even the current job that I hold, I'm really grateful for the rise training community to be referred. So yes.
Thank you, Sneha.
Thank you. I'm waiting for questions. You please feel free to
Course,
ask any questions.
hi Sneha.
Hi.
Yeah, how many course duration will be? How many months?
The course duration is basically it takes 2 months. Kiran sir, if I think he has dropped off. If he's there, I can see him, but it basically takes 2 to 3 months to be completed properly, because because we do it on weekends, Ravinder. So what happens is that
Only weekend we have.
I think there are day batches also, but most of the time when you could have a batch of students, you have put it in the weekends, because if they are working, and it goes like 2 hours Saturday Sunday. When we were doing it initially, so it was like 2 hours Saturday and Sunday, and it was extensive. And because you need to even prepare after that, and you have some assignments to do and reading to do, some practice to do. So yes, it takes Saturday Sunday. And so it takes like, because they cover entirely all the parts of business configuration, E2Bs, data mappings also. Because it's not easy to get X-ways part of things, and it is not very much required if you're able to understand what is your XML and E2B R3. So at that level, and people have questions, and they also teach you the database troubleshooting areas, how you can troubleshoot, what you can troubleshoot in the case master table, how you can troubleshoot in the CM and reg reports table. So yeah, it will take 2.5 3 months. And most of the time, because it is weekend, what I have observed is that the course goes off track, is some students are not available for some weekends due to some emergency, health or family, something like that. So we try to record the courses, but when you're available, than seeing a recording, it is always more valuable. The learning is more valuable because you can directly ask question with your instructor. So
Yeah, okay, thank you.
the-
So Sneha,
yes.
so in recent times there is a less opening for pharmacovigilance like a case processing side. So in compared to that, how is career option in this organization?
See there,
After
right.
learning, we get a call or we have to.
So after learning and after the certifications, RISE training is there. I told you, right? We have a like I'm still part of the RISE training and the Argus admin group. And so we get posted, like Kiran sir and people within the group keep posting about latest opportunities. See, right now all the industries are not like it was in the time of 2020, 2021. So, but yes, there are opportunities, Ravinder, and it's a matter of what I can say. There's always requirement for skills. So
Okay.
yeah, but the market affects everyone. See, I'm not going to give you false hope, but market affects everyone
Yes, yes, that
equally,
is
right? So
definitely
even
more.
you might be a full stack developer, but when there's a downturn, uh, when Amazon and Oracle can face a downturn, we are it's like it's happening everywhere. So but yeah, but this is like a good technical skill set, and when things are moving into AI, so it's even more important to to understand see I see the AI can also help in building you a narrative template, because most of the case data is driven by the case narrative field.
Yes,
I'm talking in the terms of field. So if you're able to have an idea and you're able to use little bit of Python and little bit of coding to, and you have an understanding of what goes into the narrative field better than me, you Ravinder, you would be knowing that what should go inside a case narrative field. And
yes,
you build a small module within using chat gpt and Python, that how we can integrate that small module to have all the important elements of the case narrative field from the data that is fed and integrated with Argus as a utility. So this is like you have used your business knowledge, and people are looking in the lookout for this kind of knowledge, which even I also don't have, because this is a primarily a pharma knowledge, and you are better able to drive from where you can get this knowledge and how fast you can get the knowledge. You know that when we say investigator, reporter of investigator type, you have a better knowledge than me to understand that what kind of information they can provide and for what kind of cases. When for me, what kind of cases means clinical trial cases or post marketed cases. So you can help drive the business. So it also depends on your outlook. um
yeah. Okay, thank you.
thanks Ravinder. I think it's only two of us, and is there anyone else apart from us? We can drop off if there are no
Oh,
other questions.
yeah, okay, Neha. Yeah, bye.
Bye. Thank you so
Bye.
much for
Thank
joining.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
For any other details, please contact Kiran sir.